All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. We traditionally have citizens' comments at the beginning of our meeting, so would there anybody that wants to make a comment tonight? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Mitchell, and I successfully am on the ballot for Park District Commissioner April 2nd election. I live here in 8th Ward, and my wife, I have two young boys, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're in parks. My 5-year-old is having a birthday party at the field house at Cannon Park this weekend. We're very excited about. I need to be more involved. And I can talk to anybody and everybody. I also met very interesting who works at the Field Museum and lives in Ridgeville and does a kind of traveling play exhibit of kind of like magnetic blocks that like stack together and go high, like more than you could ever imagine. He brings them to one place and just lets kids go free.
Magnetiles?
Yeah. So I was talking about Ridgeville. He lives in the district. Natalie, would you be the person to talk to you about that?
Yeah. I'll give you my card, and you can either pass it on to him or give me his information, and I can reach out.
I'll set up an email.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a comment? No? All righty. Approval of minutes from the last meeting.
I move to approve the December 13, 2018 monthly board meeting minutes as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Approval of bills. Brian?
Okay. Let me just flip the page. Okay, I'll go through the unusuals. ADP is 3 payrolls. We got the 3rd one in on Monday. ASCAP is the annual fee we pay to play music here that is we don't have rights to. It's $357. Citgo is very low because we stopped cutting and we didn't have to plow. DNS flooring, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, they're going to start sanding this floor and upstairs. I got a great price. I told him I'd pay him when he was done. So the bill's in this month, but we'll hold it till he's done. He'll be done Tuesday or Wednesday. We're doing both studio floors. 3 coats of Arnold. Let's see, Illinois Association of Park Districts, very low annual fee, 2nd year in a row. I was explaining to Ann, I don't exactly know why, but it used to be $5,000. I think we rolled over on a year, 40-year, 50-year. Anyways, we'll take it, and we budgeted it accordingly.
Did we budget for? Did we budget for more than that?
The conference is involved too. So I think we budgeted like $1,700. So.
We budgeted expecting something more in this range than past.
Right.
The higher bill that was.
Right.
Because they had given us guidance.
Yeah, this is very good news. Neopost stamps for the stamp machine upstairs. Quill paper products, mostly paper, for the Xerox machine. Sarin is the brochure, which is here, and been delivered door to door this week. And that's basically it.
I move that we accept the Ridgeville Park District Corporate Monthly Bills Report summary of January 10, 2019 for the amount of $24,861.64.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Pay cash.
Petty cash. Air Delights was a soap dispenser for Cayman Fieldhouse. The other one had broke. Amex Plumbing, they did our RPZ valve inspection and repaired it. For the city of Evanston requires you to have it inspected annually. That's for the fire hydrant, so we can run water off in the spring for watering and the ice rink in the winter, so there's no backflow and contaminate the water.
So this is over at Cayman East?
Yeah, off the fire hydrant at Cayman East is where we use it. It's a valve about this
On the
big.
outside is kind of It's outside, it's kind of sticking up.
No, we store it until we use it. Yeah, it's in the garage until we need it. $200, City of Evanston, that's water for the ice rink, which we would use the RPZ valve. Dengio's Fish Keg is the annual Christmas lunch or holiday lunch we had. Illinois Association of Park Districts, $300, that's conference. Natalie's going, and I believe Jessica's going to go on Saturday. Jewel Osco was for winter camp. Kids forgot their lunch. We went and got bread, peanut butter and jelly, some oranges. Sam's Club, a variety of things, but all winter camp needs. West End Florence was a variety of poinsettias for holiday decoration.
I move to accept the Ridgeville Park District monthly report, petty cash, number 6417, January 10, 2019, of the amount $1,326.35.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Moving on to monthly reports. Brian?
Okay. Past month's been busy due to a lot of off days and winter break camp. Some updates for you. ComEd is no longer willing to indemnify the Park District for the nuisance claims. I attached email from Charles to my board report. He'll explain in detail. I have a rendering from New Toys and a rendering from Park Creation, which is Little Tykes, for you guys to discuss later. I also emailed you the cost of the equipment for both companies. Hope we can come to a consensus tonight and order equipment this month. Our ice rink has not been open for skating due to warm temperatures. It's been beautiful. It's flooded, partially frozen. We're getting close. We might open it Saturday. It's getting really close to 6 inches of water being frozen. The forecast, though, is for warmer temperatures after today. The Garage Art Studio has new drop ceiling and the floor is being installed by the crew. The floor is basically done. It'll be finished tomorrow. We'll add some wallboard trim, and then we're going to have an event in there on January 16th, 2019. And as I already mentioned in the bills, we'll be sanding both floors at 908 Seward starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. They will be completed by approximately January 17th and ready for winter session. It will cost $2,300 is a mistake. It'll cost us almost $1,700, and it's in our budget. We have scheduled the removal of several trees in Elks Park Garden, east of Elks Park Garden, before the Union Pacific train tracks. These trees are called trees of heaven, which are actually weeds. They are connected at the root system, and they will take over the area. They already are taking over the area. They now give the garden tremendous amount of shade, which affects several gardens. It is scheduled to take place the week of January 20th at a cost of $3,500. $3,500 sounds like what we paid last summer for a big tree out here, but this is literally 20 small trees. So we'll get rid of those, and then we can cut. They'll never come back. We'll cut the grass all the way to the fence. They'll never come back. That's it.
So is the floors are here that's being sanded, it's a new floor that's being put in over there?
Mm-hmm.
And is that sealed too? Is that a?
That's a tile.
It's a tile floor.
It's a plank tile. It's not a 12 by 12.
It's one of those,
Yeah.
long,
Like in the kitchen here? Like Jimmy?
Yeah, but it's not wood color. It's a gray. It's thicker.
Uh-huh.
How would you describe it?
It's almost like a slate color.
Yeah.
It's very similar to what's the new flooring that's out here,
wow.
except
But
it's a
dark.
harder, it's a tile
And
instead
it's-
of like linoleum.
And it's darker. It's
Yeah, it's
darker.
dark.
When's a good time to go through, just to take a look? Is during the week, next week maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they finished all the grouting today.
Uh-huh.
So like Brian said, they're gonna do some boarding around the floor, and then I think he's making some light adjustments, and then the room should be ready.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good.
So you've already got an event there? Or-
We're gonna do our half-day workshop in there on Wednesday,
Okay.
because both the upstairs and downstairs here is gonna be, the floors will be
Floor, yeah.
done. So they really hauled their butts to get that building ready, and it looks really nice, so I'm grateful for that.
And the guys did most of the work?
All of it,
They did all of it.
yeah,
They did the floor too then?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Natalie, or who's up next? Let's see. Jerry.
Okay, you should have a packet from me with your stuff. It's the midpoint of the fiscal year. You've got reports through December 31st. I'll start with the appropriation ledger, talk about some of the highlights there. Overall, the year-to-date appropriations are favorable, within 3% of the plan. It's probably not as good as it appears because we have not spent hardly anything out of the capital improvement budget for the year yet, which was a big number of $85,000. We've only spent about $2,000 on that. The major funds, the general fund is about 1% over the plan. The recreation fund is about 2% below the plan. And so we're running pretty close on both funds. In the minor funds, I would just highlight that the liability fund is over its annual total. That would seem alarming at first glance because money is going out evenly. It should be at about 46% of the budget right now. But the way that fund works is we typically get 1 or 2 big invoices a year. At year end, there's some accrual adjustments that take place. So I think by the time we close the books on the year at the end of June with those accruals, that will come in right at budget. So we'll be fine. We'll get another bill in typically April or May that's going to blow that fund out, but it'll come back after the accruals. If you look kind of by category on the summary report, you can see that salary, wages, and benefits are running about 6% above the plan in the general fund. The administrative expenses are running about 17% above the plan. Again, mainly because we paid some big, large invoices, which kind of skew the pattern of payments. But I think for the remainder of the fiscal year, the administrative expenses will moderate and ultimately end the year within plan. On the recreation fund, all the categories are roughly at or slightly below the plan, so we're looking fine there. On the statement of revenue and appropriations, the highlights there, first of all, we've got the figures from the levy ordinance included now, so the report is a little more meaningful. You can do some budgetary comparisons now. Overall, from a cash flow perspective, the total revenue is exceeding the total appropriations by about $6,000. That's down from $58,000 last month. It's typical this time of year. We're kind of living off of our reserves because we don't have any tax revenues coming in. We probably will go negative. Well, we possibly will go negative on the cash flow in January. The caveat to that is we'll also start to receive camp revenue. So kind of depending on the timing of things, we actually might start to turn the corner on drawing on the reserves and start to have an increase in cash flow for the rest of the year.
Jerry, just for those listening who don't know our budget, does that mean we could go bankrupt in January, or is there plenty of reserves to pay for the bills?
There's plenty of reserves. Plenty of reserves.
Yep.
But it kind of highlights the importance of why we have the reserves. Because and I kind of, for a few months now, been kind of highlighting the fact that that's what we're living on is our reserves.
When are tax bills due?
Technically, March 1, I think.
They haven't been sent out yet.
No, they'll be coming out pretty soon, I think.
And the last few years have been really good about getting them out.
First installment is always pretty timely because it's just a straight
It's
55. It's 55% of whatever your total was last year. That's how it's calculated. It's real simple and straightforward. It's the second installment that's iffy because a whole bunch of variables and government agencies have to feed into a process, and the legislature gets involved, and so that one has a lot more variability as to when they'll come out.
I've just got a question on this petty unapproved appropriations. What's that?
On the, are you in the appropriations ledger?
Yes.
Okay, hold that thought for, well, no, that's not, okay, we went past that, let me go back. Those are the outstanding items when we have spent money that's not come before the board for a vote. So when we get to the outstanding items report, you'll see there's $1,093 that's been spent and gone out the door, but it has not come in front of you for a vote yet.
And we'll do that tonight.
And presumably, I don't know until we post the books for January. Hopefully tonight's report that you just approved has everything that covers that 1,093.
Okay,
But from the perspective of December 31st, it was on the bank statements, but it hadn't yet come before you.
I see,
At the
okay.
end of January, when I get those statements, that's when I have to do that reconcilement process. If something didn't appear there that should, then it'll advance to the second category, which is for write-off. And I'd be recommending to you a motion to write the charge off because it had gone 2 board meetings without getting in front of you for approval.
I see, okay. Thank you.
The only other thing I'll highlight, I'm just talking about cash flow and kind of the money coming in. Until we passed the levy ordinance, we've only got about $37,000 of prior tax year revenue yet to be received. So, kind of the gas tank of revenue sources was running dry. With the levy ordinance and layering that in, we have a substantially larger number of tax revenues to count on coming in. We probably would have been in a negative position except for the fact that we did receive the bequest that was an unbudgeted item, and that's kind of helped sustain our cash flow picture so far this year. Program revenue is showing, another thing, because we can now do the budgetary comparisons. Program revenue is budgeted to be $113,500. We're halfway into the year, and our net revenue is currently sitting at about $3,000. So there's a lot of work to be done on the program revenue between now and fiscal year end. But of course, a big chunk of that comes from our summer camps, and that's money yet to come. So
Probably by next Friday, there'll be 50 grand summer camp. Registration opens tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
So wasn't it at the beginning of this fiscal year, didn't we have to pay out something from last year? So that kind of put us in
right.
the red.
Yeah, we've on a gross picture basis, we've brought in about 23,000, but we've paid out in
20.
refunds 20,000. So the net picture is about 20,000 right now.
Okay.
Moving to the balance sheet. Normally I don't have a lot of comment there, but I will just kind of highlight there that our cash balances in the bank are at the lowest point of the year at 133,000. But our taxes receivable has jumped from 37,000 to almost 707,000, sorry. And that's because of the passing of the levy ordinance. We'll get about 365,000 probably between now and March 1st or April 1st for sure because of the spring tax bills. So we'll get a big chunk of that revenue. The remainder of that revenue, however, won't come until our next fiscal year because it'll be in the second installments. There's also, when you look at the balance sheet, some accounts payable that's been sitting there a while. We have $360 in the miscellaneous accounts payable. That's for the farmer's market, and I have a motion coming up that will address that. We'll talk about that. But now I'll move on to the outstandings report. The outstandings report is looking fantastic. Jessica's been very diligent at staying on top of the problematic items. At a net total of $522, that's the smallest that's been in a long time. And pretty much all but a handful of items on the report are new to the report this month. That's the way it should be. A lot of those you've probably already voted on tonight to resolve without realizing it. And so it's just the way this report ought to be. And the stale items that are on there, when I gave Jessica a copy of this report Monday or Tuesday, I forget which day, within 2 hours of my giving her a report, she emailed back to me the steps she'd taken to resolve all of the items. So she was just super on top of it.
So that's your 1,093.72 right there.
Right. Yeah,
So-
It's mostly
that's
petty
great.
cash.
So that's mostly petty cash?
Yep.
Yeah.
You see the Geek Squad, Air Delights, West End, Sam's Club, Illinois Association, Fish Keg, Dengio's Jewels, all on petty cash.
So those are all purchases that were made after last month's board meeting and before the end of December.
Okay. But that doesn't usually come up like that, petty cash, does it?
Yeah.
Just the same way? I mean, you have a report like this as well as the petty cash that we approve?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's been kind of different the last couple of months is they're all coming off the way they should. In the past, we'd always have straggler items that would linger there for 6, 7, 8, 9 months. A year ago, fiscal year, the auditors kind of had words that we needed to adopt a different approach because we weren't getting them off, we weren't handling. We didn't actually book them to the appropriations ledger, we put them on the outstandings report and handled them that way. And they basically said that was an inappropriate way because we've recognized that money's going out the door. We have to recognize it on the books because it's already happened. The way the accounting works, what we were doing at year end was we were dealing with them in July and August and kind of backdating them into the prior year. They said, no, we can't do that anymore. That never should have been being done that way.
Okay.
So, you know, last fiscal year, we adopted this kind of two-step process and moved them onto the appropriations ledger. And that is how we've been doing it all that time. So there's two kinds of outstandings. There's the outstandings where the money's gone out the door, but you haven't voted on it. And the other type is you voted on it, but for whatever reason, the party we paid the money to hasn't cashed their check, or it never hit our bank account, or something happened. Those are blended into, you don't see them as directly on the appropriations ledger, they're there, but when you approved them, you expensed you approved which category they were expensed into. So
Okay.
if it was something, if it was a utility bill, it's in the utility payments. You know, you've already approved the utility, it's paid the utility, but for whatever reason, the utility company never charged our account. So for
Okay.
example, you see there's a couple of NICOR items there. Okay, we're gonna actually talk about a motion on one of those. Sometimes, most of the time, it's just a timing issue. We got the invoice, we approved it at the meeting, but maybe the automatic debit date is in the next month. And so for this month, it's gonna be an outstanding item. We approve the payment, but it doesn't come out of our bank account until sometime after the first of the next month or before the next board meeting.
Gotcha.
So usually, most of the items on here are timing issues. That's okay. Occasionally, an item sits on here for several months. That's where something's gone wrong. You know, like the check from August. That person has lost the check, but never come to tell us they lost the check or to request a reissue. There comes a point where we have to go nag them. We need you to find the check, or we need you to ask for a reissue, or we have to give the money to the state of Illinois. But we can't just ignore the fact that you lost your check. A lot of times people are trying to be nice. They're like, it's only $20, what do I care? It's my contribution to the park district, or, I traded it for, like in the case of one that we've been struggling with here since last February, they said, I just traded it for a sampler card, and I'll just take another class. Well, we can't shortcut the accounting process that way.
Gary, would you appreciate individual motions? You've got 4 down here that all make sense, but for our procedures, would it make more sense to do each motion individually?
It's really your decision. I don't care. Let me talk through the motions right now, and then you can talk amongst yourselves. Because I've got 4 motions I'd like to pass this evening. One is to approve the adjustment of the November bills by $95. That's the check from last February where the person lost it. We reissued the check in November, but the reissue was handled incorrectly, and we actually gave the person a check for twice that amount. We figured it out before they cashed it and called them. The December bills corrected it, but now so we voided out the November, but we've got a lingering $95 problem in the correction process that I just need the formality of a board approval to adjust the totals for November bills. So that's the first motion. The second motion is to take into revenue the leftover money from the farmer's market. Remember here, the issue is every year for pre-orders, we charge people money that includes the cost from the farm plus a delivery fee. We book the money into accounts payable, we pay the farms. At the end of the year, when the farms are all paid, whatever's left over is our income for pre-order delivery. So we've got $360 left over there. Now's the time of year to move that into revenue. The third motion, we have a little adjustment to make because of the October bills, including an invoice that NICOR later voided out and included on a subsequent bill that we paid it on the subsequent bill. So in effect, it's kind of in the system twice. So we're reversing out that total from the October bill total. Those three motions you can pass individually, or you can pass the motion to do them all in one vote. Doesn't matter to me one way or the other how that gets done, as long as it gets approved. The last one, I don't know if you want to vote on now or whether you want to discuss when we're doing Lighter Park, but in our ordinances for appropriations and levy, we talked about having $70,000 from prior unexpended funds to go into the capital fund to fund the lighter project. We, in August, passed a motion for $20,000 of it to come from the corporate fund as of the prior fiscal year end, and we never did the remainder of that money that was going to come from the recreation fund, because we were waiting to see the results of the audit and how the fund balances were. That's all done. We have 20,000 remainder in the capital fund, so we need another 30,000 to get to our 70,000 budget plan. So I'm recommending that you take the 30,000 from the recreation fund and move it to the capital fund.
I so move to accept the motions of the treasurer, January T1, January T2, and January T3. Those three motions I move to accept.
All in favor? Or
I'll
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And do you want,
Maybe we'll wait to talk maybe with should we talk about the play equipment then? And
can we do the motion then?
Yeah.
Yeah, those motions are fine.
Okay, we can do that later in the meeting. Just, let's not forget to do that. I
Yeah.
think we should do it.
I'll help you remember.
Okay. Great. And is that it for you, Jerry?
That's it for me.
Okay. Natalie, you're next.
This month, we celebrate social justice by reading Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. Ridgeville Readers, our new book club, will meet Sunday, January 27th to discuss this book and other ideas, events, opportunities surrounding this important topic for our community. You can visit our celebration board for more details. I just started this last night and I can't put it down, so it's real good. Y'all should read it and come drink hot chocolate and talk about it with me on the 27th. The 2019 Spring Summer Brochure has arrived. Did everybody get it in the mail? Does anybody need one?
I did.
You guys got it? Do you need one? Have you
I
gotten
didn't
it
get
yet?
one yet,
Here.
no.
Thank you.
Mine arrived in the mail yesterday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So they arrived in mailboxes this week. Tomorrow, summer camp registration opens. Keep me in your thoughts. Send me positive energy tomorrow
I just want to
at
say
10
the
a.m.
brochure is incredible.
Oh, thanks.
Really, really super.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did a nice job on it.
Thank you very much. Winter break camp was a success. The revenue we brought in was $3,305, which was great this year, up from last year, I believe. The staff was terrific. The weather was super nice, so the kids got to play outside quite a bit. Amongst the other art projects they work on, the kids also made a bunch of Thinking of You cards, and we mailed them to an organization called Cards for Hospitalized Kids. TGIF Party at the Park, our first, thank goodness it's Friday, Party at the Park is scheduled for Friday, January 25th. The theme this month is game night. Everyone's welcome. There are fees and details listed in the website, or on the website and in the brochure, and the registration is open online, so everyone come play games with me.
What time is it?
7 to 9. And
Is
gonna
that geared towards adults or kids? Or
Families.
both? Families.
Families.
Okay.
That was a big thing in the survey I sent out this fall. Folks were really looking for opportunities for families to get together and hang out and have kind of semi-structured opportunities here. So this is my response to that. We're gonna see how that goes. Special needs social dance. So we worked with UTA and the High Dukes over the summer on this special needs social dance, and they were offering it once a week for a limited period of time. It went really, really well. We had a lot of folks come out for it. So we decided to extend it a little bit. We're doing it once a month. Started it December 29th, and we have 3 more dates. So we'll do one in January, February, and March. And the first one was on the 29th. We had 4 families attend. They had a great time. The next one is scheduled for January 26th, and it looks like we're gonna have a large group from Misericordia join us, so that's exciting. IAPD, IPRA conference. I'm gonna go to the conference this year. I'm super excited. Some of the workshops that I plan to attend are tools and solutions when addressing diversity in your community, social media marketing, first impressions that last, and challenging park districts to break the mold. And I look forward to reporting back in February what I've learned.
Great.
Great. I just had a question about the social needs dance. Do they have staff from Misericordia come and?
They do.
Like, how do you staff that?
So Yuta and Taryn run the dance, like and they've been doing this for years, but they run the dance, and then the participants, it's $5 for the participants, and all the aides come for free. So what happens is that an aide will usually sign up and bring 2 participants with them. So when I say we had 4 participants on the 29th, and each of those 4 participants had an aide with them, so there were 8 people total here for that. So when we did it over the summer with them, we usually had 1 aide for every 2 participants. So it ends up being a pretty large group in here, which is really great and a lot of fun. But that's usually how.
Are there
How that goes.
refreshments and stuff like that?
No, it's just an hour of dance.
So there's music?
It's line dancing, yeah. Yuta, if you're familiar with them, they play a lot for the concerts in the
Yeah.
summer. But they play live music and sing, and they really structure this folk dancing.
Get people involved.
Yeah, and we brought them last summer to play for the kids one day for camp, and they're really terrific at getting groups up and moving and participating. So
That's great.
When I was a kid, St. Mary's Parish used to have these dances when I was a kid. And my oldest brother, Mike, was special needs, and he would go every time they had it. That's where he met his wife.
Oh, that's nice.
cool.
All right, where are we? Yeah, thanks. Let's see. Find my papers here. Okay. All right, so strategic planning and goals. Well, we're going to have Brian's review tonight, which is our forum as a result of what we came out of our strategic planning meeting. And then with that, we will come up with some goals for next meeting for the next year. So anyway, if you guys want to think about what the goals are for the district, we can talk about that in our executive session, but we should come up with a list before next meeting. All right, the ComEd switchgear box. Charles?
Switchgear box. So, as you recall, I think it was in November when we discussed this. One of the concerns that existed was that one of the neighbors had complained about the switchgear box and threatened, or there was a thought that he was going to threaten a lawsuit if we allowed the switchgear box to be put in. So we worked with ComEd and indemnification provisions that they would give us if we allowed them to put the switchgear box in. And we worked with them, and there were 2 things that they refused to indemnify for. One was they refused to indemnify for any claims of nuisance, which is what the neighbor would file if he was bringing a lawsuit against the park district. And the second thing was they refused to indemnify if anybody lost electrical service and included the park district in the lawsuit. With regard to electrical service, it's probably unlikely. And even if they did bring the lawsuit, you'd have to defend it, but it's very unlikely they could win on that against the park district. Nonetheless, I thought ComEd should indemnify for that, but they're not willing to do so, and they're really not willing to even think about it. With regard to the nuisance claim, they originally indicated they would be willing to indemnify for that, but then the legal department realized that they had an alternative right of way, the overhead lines. They had an easement, which they've told me is not on Park District land, but they have an overhead lines easement that they could do this through, and they weren't willing to indemnify the Park District for a nuisance lawsuit if they could just use that other easement. that's their final position, at least that's what they've told me, it's their final position. So that means the board needs to make a decision on whether it wants to go forward with the easement on these terms with ComEd. And I can't really say there's a right or a wrong answer here. I can't tell you legally don't do that, and I can't tell you legally do that. They'll pay you $20,000 if you do it. If this neighbor does decide to file a lawsuit against you, you would have to defend that, and it could eat up some or all and more than that $20,000. It's not likely that he would end up getting a money judgment against the district, but you would have to defend the lawsuit. So that's a call that you're going to need to make. As I see it, you know, your primary mission is to preserve the assets of the Park District and to provide parks for the local constituents. And then beyond that is to improve the community, you know, do what's best for the community. So I can go through the pros and cons as I see each of these, if you want me to, or if you feel like you have a handle on that.
Seems like, you know, if ComEd didn't do that, they're just inviting sort of anybody to stop a project. If they don't, you know, indemnify somebody,
Well,
you know.
they might defend the lawsuit for themselves, but that doesn't mean they'll defend you. And they might defend you if they're defending themselves also, but we have no assurance of that.
A lot of unknowns.
I guess I feel like we're giving up something by them not doing that, and I feel like my response would be to ask for more money as a result. If we're gonna have that much more risk, I feel like we need to cover that risk. So I guess, for me, I think, you know, asking for $30,000 instead of $20,000 would make sense to protect the district a little bit more.
I feel like we don't know that 30,000 will protect it. There's a lot of unknowns here.
Yeah, I can't tell you one way or the other.
Yeah,
If
who wants to
it
get in
would
a
protect
lawsuit?
it, so-
Though, you know, anytime you have a lawsuit, you just
Right.
never know.
So what are the
Sometimes I know it'll be more.
Right,
I can't say that here,
right.
but
It's an unknown though.
yes.
I mean, 30,000, if we knew 30,000 would protect us, great, but we don't know that that would protect us.
But it would be better than 20.
Well, yeah, so it's, but
I guess I feel like if we were gonna go forward with it, that would be my preference, to ask for more.
So what are the alternatives? I mean, is the easement in the same place on that part of the street?
I
Or
don't
is
know
it somewhere else?
exactly, I don't know exactly where the easement is, but it's not, I'm told it's not on Park District land.
So is,
It's an overhead easement.
but where are the poles? I mean, the
Yeah,
poles.
I can't answer that.
I can guess. If you go down further near Monroe Street, you'll see poles on Asbury.
I know they're there,
Yeah.
but where would they be leading up to there? Would they be on our property? I mean,
No,
close to
no,
us?
they have an easement from the, this is my guess now, from the sidewalk to the street, which is only this much land. But if you go down Asbury near Monroe, you'll see the poles are on that land.
Right.
yeah.
It's not pretty, but that's what I'm guessing.
But the question is, are the poles gonna be like on that piece of property on Asbury, where the box is intended? Is that where the pole's gonna be, or is it gonna be 10 feet one way, you know?
Oh, I don't know.
And how many poles are there? I mean.
It'll be on
if they
that
want to put
property,
stuff
but I don't
under
know
the
where.
ground, doesn't this sort of defeat that purpose? You know?
Yes, they're not gonna be putting it under the ground. They're gonna be using the poles.
I mean, I specifically heard them say that we prefer, for a variety of reasons, underground.
Yes, I think they definitely want it to be the box. They don't want the poles, really, they don't.
Yeah.
Overhead's probably more expensive.
Was there any sense of timing they need an answer?
Well, at first, I was told they had a little bit of time, but I think I had a call last week with the attorney, and she was pushing, and I said, look, there's a board meeting on the 10th, and it'll be brought up at that time. That's all I can tell you. And then Brian indicated today that he heard from the gentleman who was here.
Mike Zanakis.
Yes, and he wanted an answer tomorrow.
Okay. So like, what if something happened with the poles? Like, say they put those in, they're on our property.
No, they're not on our property.
They're not on the
So,
property.
so we wouldn't have any poles on our property.
That's my understanding.
You
I
might see.
thought, I thought they had the right to put poles on our property.
I'm not aware that they have an easement on Park District property.
Yeah, then why would they come ask, you know?
Well, because they don't want to do the poles. They
Technic-
want to go underground.
But even with the poles, they're saying, right?
They've already got an easement for.
Yeah.
They already have
wherever
it.
they're gonna put it, they've got the
If
easement.
they've had it, they've had it since 1950 or 1900, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
A
they
lot of
have
times
that
in
easement.
alleys, and they're all, you know, they're in
Yeah.
different places.
Technically, from the sidewalk, it would be west of the sidewalk to the street is only this much, but that's city property, and the cities,
Right.
they have the easement through the
There,
city. Just like your front yard, it's like your front
right,
yard.
on the other side of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Given the timing, I would like to entertain a motion to counteroffer $30,000, indemnify, if that's such a word, but with their condition that they can't indemnify, and see where we go with that.
So,
That's my motion.
Do
just
I have
need
a second for that motion?
Not me.
Not me. I'm worried that that won't, you know.
I guess I feel like the threat of a lawsuit is low. I guess we've got Joe over there that, you know.
Well, if it's low for us, then it's low for them, so they ought to indemnify us.
Right,
You know,
why won't
simple
they?
as that.
Because they're,
If they're
well, I
sure-
I mean,
think,
they're a utility that can get money from
Yeah.
anywhere,
so
basically.
what you're saying makes sense to me, if you're talking to somebody in a rational conversation.
Okay.
But ComEd, maybe because they have to do 100 of these throughout the state, they just have a book. The person goes to the book and says, we don't give this, we do give that, et cetera, and that's the way we're gonna do it. If you're dealing with somebody on a one-off situation, you might look at it logically and say that. And, you know, from a legal perspective, I would agree with you.
Yeah, who wants a lawsuit, whether it's
Yeah.
20 or 30 or 50,000?
Is there a second on that motion? If not, it's over.
Well, it doesn't mean we can't discuss it. That
Well,
That
so
particular-
that motion's dead if there's not a second.
yeah.
But I think we're just still discussing.
I guess my feeling is that what Charles said is that it's a bigger company, they've got their set rules, this is how we do it across the board. I mean, I think we ought to kind of think about it on a more local terms, how, you know, how it would affect us or the likelihood of that. So that's what I'm throwing out there.
What would affect us?
I guess assess our risk based on what we know about the neighbors in the
Well, we've
area.
already been told that
Yeah,
that
that he didn't
one
want it.
neighbor doesn't like it and
Right.
he might sue us. So we've already been kind of warned.
Right.
Man, maybe an idle threat, who knows? But it still is a threat and it does have an impact on his property to some extent because it's close by. Whether that's the least intrusive way to do it, which I think it is, as opposed to a pole, you know, in front of your house or close by. I mean, I would choose a box myself, but, you know, it doesn't make sense to invite a lawsuit, basically. It's already sort of threatened, and if they don't want to indemnify us.
Yeah, it concerns me that they don't want to indemnify us.
I just think they do things by the book, like, because they're a huge company. I don't know that it, I mean,
What are we getting out of it by doing it?
well, we'd be getting $20,000 or $30,000.
Maybe, and maybe we might have to spend that, but other than the money, what's the positive thing for us to do this?
Well, in the presentation that they gave, my understanding was there's a community benefit by having it underground. It's better electricity, more reliable, and prettier.
Yeah, the whole block would be having these poles instead.
You know, that's why I'd like to know exactly where the poles are. I mean, you know, maybe they're in the same place that they are now, and they're not in that block.
So I have a list of pros and cons if you want me.
Yeah, that would be
just kinda
great.
read it off.
Yeah.
So the pros to allowing this are, and I don't know this, but this is what they represented, it'd be better electrical service for the entire community. They would avoid unsightly overhead lines. There's some potential that if any of those overhead lines goes down at some point, there could be some risk or danger to somebody in the community. You'll get $20,000 or more, they'll pay you more, out of doing this deal. The cons, as I see it, are you're gonna have a loss of use of roughly 180 square feet of park property. The switch box will interfere with the aesthetics of the park for some people, or maybe everybody, but some people will affect more than others. If the neighbor brings that action related to the replacement of the switchgear box, you gotta defend that, and you have no right to recover any defense costs from ComEd. The placement of the switch box doesn't really advance your core missions of preserving the parks or preserving, providing recreational opportunities for the public, except to the extent that you receive some money for it. And then I suppose there's some minimal risk to park users from having the box on the park. I guess a kid could run into it or something, but, you know, I guess they could run into a tree also, I don't know, you know. That's what I see here. And again, I don't think there's a right or wrong here. It's a question of what your appetite is for risk. And, you know,
Well, personally, my appetite for the risk is low. I mean, I'm not interested in inviting a lawsuit. It just seems to me they ought to indemnify us. If we're willing to give them what they've asked for, which we are, it seems a routine matter that they should indemnify us from a nuisance lawsuit. And if they don't do it because they're too big or they're too, set in their ways, okay, well, let's move on.
and the interesting thing was they initially indicated they would do it.
Yeah,
But once they
that's right.
realized they had an alternative method, the legal
But I think they
department.
always had that alternative methods because that's
They
what
did,
they
but the
told
legal
us.
department didn't know about that.
Oh.
Because I asked her about that, I said, you said you would do this. And she said, well, yeah, but then I found out we had this alternative method, so, we're not willing to do it. Even though the gentleman who's here was aware that they had that alternative method.
Well,
Well, maybe go back to them and say then that either you indemnify us or we're out.
That's what I'll do.
Well, then I'll make a motion. Right? I can make a motion?
I don't know that we need a motion,
Oh,
do
do
we?
we not need a motion to do that?
That's what we voted on in the first place.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is one.
We can look, we have a minute somewhere, we can look.
Okay, so we don't need it, okay, that we were gonna either get in there to indemnify us or we're,
I mean, I think the original motion was that we had to have acceptable language from them, but you'd be
Oh,
willing to do
okay.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe just say this is what, if we're not going to vote on the other, then just go back to them and say that that's our final offer.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, they were willing to do it, and, there's a benefit to the neighborhood because they are less sightly.
If we were sued, do we have any insurance
It
coverage?
depends what the claim is. So, and I haven't looked at the policies. A claim, a nuisance claim though, we'd really have to fly spec the insurance policy to see if we have coverage for it. My guess would be that there isn't coverage for it. So it doesn't seem like something that would fall under a general liability policy.
I'm sorry, what did you say, that there is not coverage for it?
Yeah, I'd have to
Is
fly.
your feeling?
I'd have to fly spec the insurance policies to see what's there. It's unlikely there'd be coverage for it, in my opinion. It's not the typical
It's
kind
not
of
a
thing that's covered by
regular-
a general liability policy.
So when you're covered by the insurance, do they cover the legal costs?
Depends what your policy says, but, your general liability policy, is there a deductible?
Is there a
Yes,
deductible, Brian?
$5,000.
Is there a deductible on our insurance policy?
After $5,000, I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay, and so it probably pays all defense costs, and then there's $5,000 deductible on payouts. So the problem is the nuisance claim might not trigger the coverage, because the coverage is usually for claims for money damages. And a nuisance claim isn't necessarily a claim for money damages, it's more of a claim for, you can't do that on that property, because it interferes with my right, my property in such a way that I can't peaceably enjoy it the way I should be able to. So that's why I think it wouldn't trigger the
And
coverage.
they would, a neighbor, say, would sue the park district? Or, yeah, and the city, or just the park district?
Well, I don't think the city,
So just the
but they
park
would sue the
district?
park district, they might sue ComEd too.
ComEd, I
They
mean.
might or might not sue them. Maybe they just sue ComEd, and maybe we'd be okay with
Well, we
that.
just don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, the likelihood is nobody's gonna sue,
Slim, yeah.
because you gotta,
It's
not a lot of
gamble.
attorneys take those cases without getting money up front.
Yeah.
Well,
But, you know, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a brother-in-law or, you know, cousin. You know,
Yeah.
and they probably realize the likelihood is slim also. I mean, so,
well, they may, you know, it could just be a question of, you know, they might outstare you. You know, get in a room, who's gonna back down first? That can be what they're
And I can
thinking.
see the newspaper articles and
A lot of people get in lawsuits that they're sorry they got into and they'd like to get out of, but they can't.
yeah.
Because it starts costing them too much money.
Yeah.
All right, so let's leave it at that.
Okay, so my instructions, then,
You're going to call
I'm gonna call the attorney tomorrow, and tell her that we're not gonna do it if we're not indemnified for nuisance claims.
Thank you.
And then they'll do
what they do.
what they do.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Charles.
Okay.
Okay, Brian, what about Lighter Park?
them. Okay, let me get up and walk around a little bit so I can explain a few things. You have some new toys, different color schemes here. Option 2.
Do they have these?
I'll show.
I told him the color that he existing one is, and so he redid the color.
They just move them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the little hint.
Okay, so option 2 from New Toys is what is on these color schematics, different colors. This is option 2. Option 1 is right behind it, which I didn't get other colors on, but you can choose either one of these two. It's $58,000 in equipment. I'm going to put this one over here.
Either one of these two?
Yes.
Option 1 or 2 from New Toys
It's
is
$58,000.
$58,000. The option from Little Tykes, which is also Park Creation, is $63,400. $63,800. And obviously, you can pick any color you want. Okay, but when you look at the email I sent you, that with all the other estimates, removal of the equipment, the installation of the equipment, restoring the area, New Toys would come to $88,500, and Little Tykes would come to $96,500, which is over budget. At any rate, I'm going to give you my opinion. Natalie and I looked at both of these. We like option 2 from New Toys.
Why do you like option 2?
It's just, it works. I mean, it flows real nice. It has a separate system here for the kids. It's just, again, it's mostly upper body work.
There's a rock climbing wall.
I should rephrase that. Of New Toys, this is my favorite. Option 2. Now,
The stuff you've handed out,
It's
that was on our
only-
desk today, which one is option 2?
Yeah.
I mean,
The
option
ones-
option 2, look at
I
the,
think you gave us all option 2 on
those are
those.
all option 2 and not the colors.
Okay.
Look at this email that I sent you.
Okay,
And it had,
Mine is labeled,
Option
the
one
first
and
2 pages are option 1, and the last 2 pages are option 2.
it's in here. I don't want to confuse you with the handout. The handout's option 2 in different color.
Okay, so that's just
Option 1,
So here's option 2.
Okay, that's your preference of the new.
That's my preference from New Toys.
I guess my only question on that climbing structure is it's all flat. The structure's all flat. It doesn't seem as inviting for as many kids.
Which is all flat.
This one on option 2.
I think it's this one here.
I guess I feel like that pyramid structure seems like it could hold more kids and could invite more kids.
Right?
At any rate, Let me just get into equipment. I think, my opinion on the equipment is Park Creation is better equipment.
Little Tikes.
Which would be Little Tikes right here. We've had very good service and very good luck with it. New Toys is right out here in Ridgeville Park. It's been fine, it's good stuff. Laney came to the meeting, great gal. Chuck Gardner, great guy too. I mean, good service out of both companies, whether it's equipment we already have in the park from either company. So what I was hoping for tonight is a decision on which company and then a color so I can order it. Delivery, 3 to 6 weeks for
New Toys.
New Toys. And I can't remember, but this is 8 or 9 weeks, might even be 12 weeks. I think it's 12 weeks. It's 12 weeks delivery of this.
But that's not really an issue because we're,
12 weeks, if we keep waiting, we're getting in trouble if we go with timelines.
and why do you like or Little Tikes better?
We have the equipment in Brummel, the service great. It's been in Brummel since '96, and you've seen the new playground on the west end, that's Little Tikes. It's great equipment. It's more expensive, but it's great equipment.
And you prefer the equipment, or do you prefer working with this lady better, or what?
Oh, they're both fine. Service is fine. Both of them are, let's just say, service-wise, they're equal.
It sounds like you're suggesting the Little Tikes because the equipment itself is more, is sturdier, lasts longer, more,
It's just more durable.
more durable. Okay.
But the more I look at option 2, I really like it. I just gotta tell you, I really. So,
Yeah, I guess my only question on option 2 is that climbing bit. It doesn't look as inviting to me.
You know, and
The
I
climate.
climbing one?
kind of agree, and I don't like forced swing, I mean forced slides. I mean, slides are, you know, a piece of plastic that, you know, doesn't cost $100, you know, and I don't think it's very, you know, very interesting to have 4 separate slides. It's basically dominant, all I see is slides, as opposed to climbing equipment.
So Jerry, if we were to go with the Little Tikes, could we come up with that extra $8,000 or $7,000?
I have an answer for that.
Uh-huh.
It would be, the timing of this project is at the end of the budget year. So if we go over by $6,000, that would be in next year's budget
Oh, so we could actually pay them in July
for the remainder.
for the remainder? And they've agreed to that?
Yeah. And we had this conversation, but Little Tikes goes up 3 to 5% in 2019. They agreed to keep it at 2018 price.
They are going to do that?
Yes. What you have in front of you.
Oh, those are 2018
Those are
prices.
2018 price. So they're not going to go up.
I know that we had a meeting for people to come. I was away. We had a meeting and I think only 1 or 2 people came.
Yeah.
Of the constituents.
She really liked this.
I'd still like
Which one is she?
more
She liked that
input from the
Little Tikes.
neighbors.
12 weeks from next month.
Well, I mean, I think maybe we could consider hooking it onto a ward meeting where there are residents there already. And, you know,
We flyered the neighborhood of Whiter Park. We posted it on the website. We sent out an email.
am I considered part of the neighborhood of Lighter Park?
Was it?
And is my house considered part of the neighborhood of Lighter Park? Because I didn't get anything.
Okay, because we probably cut it off. at
Oh, okay,
6:40.
okay.
But
You didn't get any responses?
one person.
One person.
And she was actually really helpful.
Has she seen both of these?
No, she's only
Yeah.
seen, she's only seen, she hasn't seen either one. She saw the original from Park Creation, and then she gave us her input, and that's how we came up with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since she took the time to come in, could you call her up and ask her to come by and look at it? Just,
Yeah.
She saw it. She saw it. Well, she didn't see the second one.
Well,
But she was really very knowledgeable because she's a homeschool mom. And so she takes her kids to all kinds of parks. And she really, I felt like she really knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, she was sure.
I guess I'd just be curious to have her look at the other one too,
Yeah.
just to, you know, what does she say? How does, you know, she was nice enough to come to the meeting.
show
Change
the
to take
other
it.
option.
She loved the one
Kids,
from Little
you
Tikes.
know,
Yeah.
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 So what do we want to do?
I'd like to keep this process moving. I'd like to give him the go-ahead to, I mean, I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, and I think we should give Brian the option to, you know, go forward with this. My feeling is that if he has a better feeling about the Little Tikes equipment, this is a big purchase, long-term purchase. If it's really better equipment, that's what I would want.
Well, I too, I agree with that, but I too would like, you know, some physically, you know, activity type stuff where you're climbing, you're moving. It seems like Little Tikes has more of that than,
New Toys has more.
No, and Little
Little
Tikes has more of that. It has more of the climbing features in it than the New Toys one. I mean, all I see is this little kind of wiry thing and then, you know, like a zip line over it.
Mhm.
Whereas, well, there's one steps there, I see.
And 4 slides.
There's a climbing wall.
This incorporate, Little Tikes incorporate a little more nature into the project too, with, like
What
climbing
nature?
ladders. When I say nature, I mean rustic type.
It just seemed there's a little more body to it than this, than the New Toys.
How about I bring this lady in and see what she thinks? I need a color, and then I need
I thought we talked about blue last time.
maybe the,
They voted on a color for Little Tikes last time, the brown and forest green.
Yeah.
So that color scheme has been chosen.
So that's what we,
I'd like to ask Matt, he's sitting right here with 2 little kids.
Because we talked about how the other equipment that's there has orange and brown.
Right.
You decided to go with the brown and
Matt, what
green
do you
to
think?
complement.
To use the park.
I think they both look nice, they do. I mean, I was thinking not just my kids, but all kids different ages. You know, like 1 to 10, I think I'm playing a park. And to have something that everybody
Little Tikes with the color scheme.
could do. So I would think that this would actually have more options for younger kids.
both are designed for 5 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
there's one next to it that's sort of geared towards a younger, there's another piece of equipment there that's not gonna go at the park now, but it's sort of like the 2 to
That's
5
true, it's
range.
the younger.
Yeah.
And then the only other idea I had is that this climbing wall, there's a real similar thing at Oakton.
Oh, that's a climbing wall. I thought it
At
was-
Oakton School.
At Oakton School, there's a,
Yeah, and that's what that lady was saying. She said that they go to different parks for different
Different
reasons.
things.
yeah. And so this actually is not that dissimilar than the Oakton.
New Toys on it actually
Little
also has
kids.
a spinner too.
Mhm.
You want to throw up?
I do like this, the spinner's pretty cool.
And that was a big.
The spinner.
Oh, yeah.
On the
The spinner.
You know, we have,
Fabric awning.
Brian, that scoop that we have that's nearby, the scoop
Oh, the
that some
car,
kids like,
the truck
you know, where you sit on it and you scoop the
It's
sand.
gotta go.
It's gotta go, but what if we, if we like the Little Tikes, ask them if they, since they are $6,000 higher, if they would throw in a new scoop, something like that, you know, that's probably
I
a
think
couple
kids
thousand
like
bucks.
that a lot.
And really, that one is sort of it's not really
Right.
dangerous, but it's
Yeah.
definitely broken. Is that something that, you know?
Well, yeah, those are some of the separate pieces over there that they were talking about as well.
But in addition to the little spinner thing, but ask them if they put another, you know, if they just replace that piece basically. But at the same price, not, you know,
What's that?
at the same price that
Yeah,
they're
right.
proposing, not at a higher price.
Are either of these systems more special needs accessible than the
They're
other?
both accessible in a variety of ways. This option here has, what do you call it, ground level toys or stations
Mhm.
for handicap accessible or wheelchair kids. I don't know exactly where they are at.
What about that
What's the-
revolution spinner there over on Little
And they
Tikes?
all
Is
have
that?
transfer stations too.
And what's the stuff under it. Easy for wheelchairs to.
What's that?
For wheelchairs to,
Well, it would be,
It's wood chips.
So that you can't get a wheelchair out, but you can transfer the child.
oh, okay, there are transfer stations there, okay. Okay.
They stand a picture. of-
ADA, you'll never see any of these that don't comply.
That don't have, okay.
but these are all wood chips, right? So
I'm sorry?
these are wood chips underneath.
Yes.
We had a conversation about that, and the other materials are much more expensive.
Okay.
But if
Way
there's
more
a transfer
expensive.
station, I don't really see it, but where's the transfer station? Is it on
No,
here?
it's a platform, so if you go to the ladder. This one has ground level.
We showed
So the wheelchair has to get to there.
Right.
Thumbs up
And
from-
the wood chips that go in are ADA approved.
So,
Around 3 times ADA.
oh, so they should be able to go across with,
That's the
My
plan.
only concern
Okay.
is
That's
that
what
there's
we're
just
putting
that
on.
fabric on it. Might not be a big deal, but after someone.
Yeah, you've got little kids too. What do you think?
I don't know how expensive it is to replace.
That one.
I think kids would love that matrix
Like,
rope
is it gonna get faded?
thing, that rope.
The climbing
Yeah.
thing.
oh,
I
yeah.
think kids would come from all around the
To go on
world.
that.
That's right, we have 500 kids at Washington that play on that, love it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, yeah, Washington.
Let's replace monkey bars.
Yeah. Monkey
The-
ropes.
The option number 1 from New Toys has that same thing.
Right, right.
Climbing thing.
Yeah, so there's,
Option 1 has one of them.
Okay.
I think that would feel unique compared to other parks.
Option 1 has
In the
the rope
neighborhood.
climb.
So I would like to entertain a motion from someone to allow Brian to move forward with, several parameters.
That's a little vague.
Yeah.
You mean let
Well,
him
I mean,
choose?
I think someone should come up with a motion that says, let's allow him to go forward, either with the Little Tykes or the New Toys, not to go over a certain budget amount. I think, I would just like to see this move forward, and if he, talks to the New Toys people. I think we're at a place where we've seen what's available, and maybe we just need to define what our limits are.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the Little Tykes proposal at $96,500. If they'll throw in the scoop and that's it. And, that's the cost. That's the all-in cost.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
So it's
Little Tykes.
Park creation
Scoop.
in brown green,
Yeah.
and we're trying to get the scoop.
Okay.
And you
Good.
are gonna call that, just to
What's that?
see, you are gonna call that one resident that saw the other one. You're gonna call the one resident?
That showed up to the meeting.
Yeah, that showed up to the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be
I
nice.
mean,
Do-
if she wasn't in trouble showing up.
Yeah, she was really interested. I thought she was really good. She was really interested in her.
Exactly. Do you,
Appreciate
do you want to
that.
consider what to do if he can't get that scoop?
Yeah.
Do you want to give him some authority so that if he can't get that scoop, he knows what the backup plan is?
We can
Or
go
you
with
want
it,
him to come back?
is my opinion.
Or a discount of some sort, maybe.
Yeah, let's see what they say.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think we want to move ahead.
You got room.
Yeah. I'd say he can use his own judgment.
Okay.
I can't believe that'd be a,
Well, maybe you want to consider a motion to approve one of these others in the event he's unable to get a deal
oh,
on that one. So that way, he's got it on paper, he knows what he can do.
I think we'd still take that one.
Whatever you want to do. I'm
I think we still
suggesting-
want the Little Tykes.
I'm suggesting you don't want
We
to have.
still
to
want the
come back.
Little Tykes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but hopefully with the scoop.
Yeah, with the scoop. And I just say, let them know that we've got a proposal that's $6,000 below theirs that we're also considering, so,
See what they can throw
I just
in.
want to make
Okay.
sure he knows what
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
All right. Woo-hoo, that's exciting.
Okay, before we leave the lighter park project, can we return to the issue of the
Oh, now we need to
funding?
transfer over the money.
Okay, I'll I'll make a motion for that, motion number 4,
Second.
to be, I'll wait to finish your one.
Oh, sorry. But yeah,
To
that,
be approved.
Was like 30,000? So
Yes.
Yeah,
We
okay.
have that? Okay.
Great.
All in favor?
aye.
Where are we? I don't have my list here.
Call the commissioners.
Oh, call of the commissioners. Does anyone have anything that they want to say?
I just want to say that the window of challenging the 4 petitioners that we talked about last month has passed. So we do have 4 candidates who are wanting voters to vote for them to serve on this board, which I think is really cool. There's 3 seats that are open, and there's 4 candidates. Matt Mitchell's one of them, myself, and Rob Beatty, and Martha Gaines. So just want to let our community know that's good news, that people want to serve, and the election, I believe, is April 2nd.
April 2nd.
I sent in our unofficial ballot.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have a second round of citizens' comments. Is there any comments from the crowd?
I just have a question. I get that Rob is re-upping his desire to be on the board, but in the last 4 or 5 meetings that I've been here, he's not been here. So I'm wondering what his level of commitment is to actually serve.
He actually has been here. He has been here like the last 3 or 4 meetings.
Who's that?
Rob,
Not one she's
I haven't,
going to
I wasn't here last month, but.
he's been
I've
at
been
at
here
least the last
for
3
several, he's
meetings.
not been here, so.
You can look at the minutes. I mean, I think he has been.
I know that there's been several that he hasn't been here, so I was a little shocked to hear that he was gonna. Less than good. Seems to be regular.
Any more comments? I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting and go into executive session.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for.